In a world ruled by an empire of unparalleled power, where the gods of myth held sway, and where the mere whisper of a new fate could mean death, this is no fantasy epic. This is the story of the early Christians and their incredible struggle for survival. Against the might of Rome today, we delve into a critical chapter in history. A clash not of armies but of faith, a clash that would forever shape the landscape of faith and the world as we know it. We often think of the Roman Empire as a monolith, a symbol of order and greatness, and in many ways, it was a vast network of roads, thriving cities, and a complex legal system. Brought stability to much of the known world, but within this structure, cracks were forming. A new religion was emerging. Christianity, at first glance, it seemed harmless, just another Jewish sect, but beneath the surface it carried ideas that challenged the very foundations of Roman society and its polytheistic traditions. The story begins, of course, in Judea, a province that was anything but tranquil under Roman rule. The execution of Jesus of Nazareth, seen by his followers as the Messiah, was not the end, but rather the catalyst. His disciples, empowered by what they believed to be the resurrection, began to spread his teachings, a message of love, forgiveness, and a single all-powerful God. This was not just a religious adjustment. It was a radical shift in worldview now. For the Roman authorities, this new religion was not just a curiosity. It was a potential threat. Roman society depended heavily on a system of emperor worship and a pantheon of gods. These deities were seen as essential to maintaining the stability and prosperity of the empire. Refusing to acknowledge them was not just a religious issue. It was an act of defiance, one that could potentially undermine the entire social and political order. Think of it like a national anthem. You may not believe every word, but stand up out of respect or risk accusations. Early Christians refused as idolatry. The initial Roman response was more one of disdain and suspicion than outright persecution. They often confused Christians with Jews, often applying the same stereotypes or viewing them as a disruptive element. But early persecutions were often localized, driven by specific tensions in cities like Jerusalem or local political disputes rather than empire-wide policy. But as Christianity grew and spread throughout the empire, so did fear and envy. Misunderstanding. Rumors began to circulate, stories of cannibalism fueled by the Eucharist, orgies, misinterpretations of their community gatherings, and even accusations of causing social unrest. These accusations, fueled by ignorance and fear, created a climate of hostility toward Christians. Local authorities sometimes found it politically expedient to use the growing Christian community as a scapegoat whenever trouble arose. The first large-scale persecution began under Emperor Nero in AD 64. Following the Great Fire of Rome, Nero, desperate to deflect blame from himself, turned the population's fury on the Christian minority. Imagine being the scapegoat for such a massive disaster. Nero's persecution was brutal. Christians were accused of arson, tortured, and executed in horrific ways. Some were crucified, others were fed to wild animals in the arena, and still others were used as human torches to light Nero's gardens. These were not just isolated incidents. They were public displays designed to discourage others from joining this growing faith. This period became a baptism of fire, solidifying the core beliefs of those who remained. While Nero's persecution was particularly cruel, it was not a systematic program across the empire. This would change under later emperors over the following centuries. Persecutions waxed and waned depending on the attitude of the emperor and the prevailing political climate. Periods of relative calm were punctuated by waves of intense persecution under emperors such as Domitian, Decius, and Diocletian. Each period sought to extinguish the Christian faith, but ironically, Each time Christianity grew stronger, the persecutions under Diocletian in particular were some of the worst in history. In the early 4th century, Diocletian, determined to restore Rome to its former glory, saw Christianity as a threat to traditional Roman values. He implemented a series of edicts that sought to systematically eliminate the faith. Christian scriptures were burned, churches were destroyed, and Christians were forced to renounce their beliefs under penalty of death. It was a period of intense pressure, testing the limits of human endurance, but even under such intense oppression, Christians did not give up. Stories of courage, martyrdom emerged. Tales of individuals like Perpetua and Felicitas, who faced death with unwavering faith. These stories, passed down from generation to generation, became the basis of a shared Christian identity, the refusal of many to renounce their faith, even when faced with brutal torture and death, became a powerful testament to their convictions. The blood of the martyrs, as the saying goes, became the seed of the church. It did not deter them. Instead, it galvanized and encouraged them. So why did the Romans fail to stamp out Christianity? The answer is complex. The Christian message resonated with the native. Many, particularly the poor and marginalized, it offered hope and a sense of community in a world of social hierarchy. Roman polytheism by this time had lost much of its power, its appeal, and its sense of spirituality. Roman society was in a state of decay, and Christianity offered a new perspective, a different vision for a just world and a future second. The future second. Christians were incredibly well organized. They developed a network of communication and mutual support that stretched across the empire. This made it difficult for the Romans to truly eliminate them. When local churches were attacked, they were rebuilt elsewhere. When leaders were killed, others rose to take their place. They adapted and overcame adversity, not only surviving but thriving. Their commitment and determination became their greatest strength.